Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Joe Casabona. Welcome, Paul Lacey. Number
Hello.
178 of the This Week in WordPress show. Do this every Monday, 2 p.m. UK time. Paul, are you going to do the introductions today? We're supposed to have another guest, but Matt Cromwell isn't here just yet. But fingers crossed that at some point in the next hour or so, he'll drop in, and if he does, we'll just dump him right into the conversation. But as always, Paul Lacey's here.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing? Do you have a nice weekend, Paul?
Awful. It's rubbish, actually. It's a total waste of time. A friend of mine, Nathan Wrigley, booked a weekend away for he and I and some of our friends from Big Orange Heart. And it's really, really good. And a lot of us hadn't seen each other for a long time. And we took advantage of the fact that the UK is relatively unlocked as such, and we were able to go to the coast up north, and it was really cool. And we had a great time. Beers. We watched the new British tennis champion win the US Open, which was absolutely amazing in the pub. We watched that in the pub, and also, should we just bring it up now, Nathan?
Go on.
Yeah, we were all gonna go fishing on. Was it the Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday. Wasn't it?
Saturday. I should say Saturday the 11th.
Saturday the 11th.
11 a.m.
Yeah, 11 a.m.
It was booked.
Yeah. But Nathan accidentally booked it for November the 11th. So we just did what we did for the rest of the weekend and just went to the pub, and then and actually Nathan felt very bad about it, but honestly, none of us minded. We all had a bit of a hangover, to be quite fair, from the previous night and going out on the waves. Catching slimy fish. I don't think any of us were too worried about it, mate, so don't worry. But we all had a great weekend, and thank you very much, Nathan, for organising it, and hope to do it again next year.
Before we get on to Joe, it's one of those moments where you really wish the ground would swallow you up, because we were all sitting having some food, and we were supposed to, within about 5 minutes, go to the place where the fishing boat was that was going to take us on. And I just thought, well, I'll just open up the email and just check, just to make sure that we're in the right place and so on. And I opened it up, and the first thing I saw was the word November. I'm like, that's got to be a mistake. Please make that a mistake. And it wasn't. I booked it 3 months into the future. But anyway,
my favourite part was your excuse, though, that apparently when he was typing the word October, it must have auto-completed to November.
Well, even though it was in September.
We were doomed, whatever. Even if you got it, in your mind right, we still wouldn't have been there for another month.
Yeah.
But it was great, and we did a lot of walking along the beach, and found a crab, didn't we?
Yes.
And some fossils. It was cool.
It was really nice just connecting with people in the real world again. It's the first chance that I've had to do anything like that.
Missed it.
Apparently, great. WordCamp Bristol is coming back fairly soon, as are a couple of other events in the near future. So maybe that'll just be the first of many this year. But do you want to introduce our fabulous guest, Joe?
I certainly will. So welcome back, Joe. And Joe here started his career almost 20 years ago, when I guess he must have been about 3 years old, because look how young he looks, as a freelance web developer before realizing his true passion, which is sharing his years of knowledge, which he does have, about website development, podcasting, and online courses. And today, his main focus is helping people make money with podcasting. And what's the best web address for you these days, Joe?
Well, Casabona.org is where all of my stuff is, but the podcast-specific stuff is at podcastliftoff.com.
I've done that course, and it actually helped me launch a podcast.
Which I quickly see Paul Lacey's wonderful face on the homepage as a testimonial.
Yeah, it's a great course, and I'm a co-host of this show, so I don't know what Nathan did to set it up at the beginning, and I didn't know.
It was a lot of a lot of messing around, and a lot of blind alleys, and a lot of mistakes, and a lot of things that I wish I'd done differently, because I just didn't have the bandwidth. So Joe's course, go and do Joe's course. Just don't waste your time.
It's just those gaps of knowledge that you might know 50% of the stuff, and it's just like, okay, that 2-minute video there just saved me 3 days of getting it wrong. So yeah, check it out. It's a good course.
Awesome.
Great course, in fact.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's cool. You honestly, Joe, and I'm not trying to be like some kind of sycophant, you do look a lot younger than you are.
Thank you.
I'm all wrinkly. By the time I was your age, I was like wrinkly, and you're not. Maybe you've got a dead good filter on your camera.
It's really good. It's really so it's just perfect lighting in here. Thank you. I'll attribute that to I don't know, probably my like a greasy Italian skin. Maybe that's keeping the wrinkles away.
That'll do.
I mean, I'm about to have a third kid in December, so that'll
it's going to go downhill. Yeah.
Actually, strangely enough, the third kid was what made this go from black to. So we'll see how that goes. Just very quickly, a few of the sort of captiony type things. If you are wishing to comment, then and you're in the Facebook group, then you have to click on. Well, you don't click on the URL. I don't know if it's a clickable link, but go to chat.restream.io/FB if you want to be de-anonymized. Otherwise, you will be anonymous and we won't know who you are. And if you've got any questions or just general commentary, then please just add it as a comment and we'll throw it on the screen at an appropriate time if there is an appropriate time. Like I said, we're hoping to get Matt Cromwell on, but who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe that.
No, he sent me a message. So basically, if we can wish Matt Cromwell to get well soon, he's feeling a bit under the weather, and he sends his apologies to everyone. And if you're watching, Matt, get well.
Get well soon. Yeah. Oh dear. I hope he's feeling better soon. Yeah. Okay. So we'll carry on. We'll put the screen up and just say this is the WP Builds website. We do this every week on a Monday, and we put it out on a Tuesday. And we've got a podcast which comes out on a Thursday, and you can always catch the latest episode at the top here. And if you fancy keeping in touch with what we do, click on our little subscribe link there and fill out one of these forms, or follow us on Facebook by clicking these links and all of that kind of good stuff. Let's cut to the news. I think we're going to rip through a fair amount of this pretty quickly because a lot of it's just it's a question of news I feel I've got to cover off, but there's not really a lot of stuff to say, so we'll just quickly dive through a bit of this. WordPress 5.8.1 rolled over during the course of the last week. Hopefully all of your sites sent you emails to say this has all happened automatically. You didn't need to do anything, but it was basically a little security update. I don't know if you've switched all of this kind of automatic updating off, but it's probably a good idea because there are, I think I counted 60 bugs. Yeah, there it is, 60 bugs in addition to 3 security fixes. And because it's a security release, it is recommended that you fix things immediately because obviously the bad guys now know what those problems were and presumably will be looking to exploit them. I am almost certain that both Joe and Paul have nothing to say about this. I'll just pause for a second in case they do, but they don't. That's probably to be expected. Great. Okay, in which case we'll go on to this one, which is 5.9. It's an article on WP Tavern by Sarah Gooding. And it's all about the roadmap of the near future. I know for a fact, Paul, you're getting a bit sick of talking about 5.9 and updates and full site editing and all of that kind of stuff, but it is just
I love it.
Oh, yeah. You do.
I get triggered, but I still love doing it. I watch. I like to watch horror films as well. They scare me as well. But go on.
No, you carry on. Go on.
I was just going to say, I really think they've probably figured out that they need to get this full site editing thing out there, so that there's not just a reliance on something like Toolset, which is currently one of the only ways you can. There's probably some others that I don't know about, but it's more or less the only way that I'm aware of to do proper full site development, where you've got things like archive views and single post templates, so that you can design one template for all your blog posts. You can design a template for your search results, your 404, etc., and get that done. And I'm sure that it won't be perfect when it comes out. More than sure that it won't be perfect, but I think they need to get that that over the line, and then I think that's something that's probably been pushing a lot of the development that to some people feels like, why are they focusing on that? And I think it comes down to they need to get this particular thing out, and then perhaps with, I don't know, what do we have after 5.9? Do we have 5.10?
I would imagine, yeah. I think 6, but I could be wrong about that.
Traditionally,
Yeah, I mean, I imagine then we might start seeing the focus on backfilling some of the sort of things that aren't working quite as well as they could, or performance and stuff like that. So, I'm going to be relieved when they get this one done, and then I'm really interested to see what they do next. But I do get a sense that they're under whenever I hear Josefa or read Josefa writing about, their sort of deadlines and everything, I feel that there is like an urgency to it now, for sure, wherever that comes from. But I think that they're going to bring it out, and then third parties can start iterating on that. And there's a bunch of other things coming out in 5.9 as well that I think theme developers really, really need and are desperate to get their hands on as well. So, we'll see. Get past this one and then see what next version looks like is my thought on it. I imagine, Joe, you've probably delved into this a lot deeper than I have, because I know you follow the full site editing stuff. You think you've got a course about it as well, as far as I remember.
Yeah. Master full site editing. It's pretty early, right? I rolled it out kind of at the same time of 5.8, which is when the first full site editing features came to core. But I've been working with it. It's buggy right now. I've participated in the full site editing kind of team chats when I could. Those are run by I'll say friend of the show, Anne McCarthy, right?
Oh yeah.
This is where I met her. And so, they've been really open about getting things fixed and things like that. And so this will be a big push. They're doing something similar to 5.8, right? Where I think about 2 months before the release date, they're going to do a go, no go on specific features. And then they'll do a feature freeze a month later. This is appropriate development, right? I think in the past with WordPress releases, we haven't had what I would, as a software developer myself, consider appropriate feature releases, where features should be frozen in the beta period. The beta period is not a time for adding new features. The beta is for bug fixes, or should be for bug fixes only, and then the release candidate should be pretty polished. In the past, we haven't seen that with WordPress. We've had new features added to release candidates. So I think that this path that Josefa has laid out is much more appropriate, and I think is necessary considering the major changes that we're going to see with full site editing.
One of the things that I'm curious about is that we seem to have a new role that's been invented as well, because it seems like the release lead is going to be Matt Mullenweg. That's been the case for quite a few releases of late. Josefa is going to be marketing lead, and Jonathan Bossinger, he's not been on this particular show, but he's been on our podcast. He's been invited to take on a new role. I think it's a new role called technical writer. And the job of that is to get the technical details of the new releases translated into accessible and actionable information for other contributor teams, which seems like quite a curious step. I'm presuming it's because there's so much complexity coming out in this one that it would be good that everybody knew exactly what the page was that we were all on. But anyways, the goal is to get this out by the end of this year, and you can have a little look. It's the usual stuff that we've been banging on about over the last few months.
I will add, I think that this new role is probably a good and important one. Jonathan works for Castos, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He did work for Castos. He's now at, I'm gonna get it wrong. It's totally escaped me. I want to say,
is it
please say it.
Not brains, thingy brains. What are they called?
It's Delicious Brains.
Delicious Brains.
Yeah.
Liquid Brains. Sorry,
very cool.
Yeah.
Too many zombie films. Sorry. Yeah, Delicious Brains.
Liquid Brains.
Yeah,
there ought to be a company called.
But I think this role is a good one, right? Because I think a really valuable skill to have is the skill of being able to translate developer speak into normal person speak, right? And because there are so many contributor teams now, and Nathan, like you said, it's really complex. I feel like maybe this is another evolution in the WordPress open source environment, right? Where I think for a long time people thought contributing was just about writing code,
Yeah,
and it's not
yeah.
really like that anymore. But it's still very developer centric, and so hopefully Jonathan's role will make it less developer centric. I don't want to read React in any of his documentation.
No, yeah, he actually came on our podcast, like I said, a long time ago, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, because he noticed that David and I had made an absolute pig's ear of explaining the GPL, and so he wrote to me and said, "Look, can we just do a show where I just tell you how it actually is?" And so that's what we did, and he did. He managed in 40 minutes to explain how the GPL actually works, which is really difficult to understand, and he did a really good job of it. So he's hopefully.
Even more so, right? Because that hasn't been challenged in the courts.
So no, he made that very point. Hope that it's that has watertightness.
Yeah.
But there you go. Go and have a read of that. That's Sarah Gooding, WP Tavern. I thought this one was quite interesting. We've seen a whole bunch of things being acquired. Sorry. Before I go on to the next one, thanks, Joe. Joe put the version numbering for WordPress. There's a link on the page. I'll put it in the show notes if I remember. And it looks like it does go to 0.9 and then the next point release, 4.1, 5.1 and so on. So yeah, looks like we're heading for 6 after 5.9. Okay, next one, back on WP Tavern again, Sarah Gooding. We mentioned this, Paul. Do you remember having this on the show a little while ago and thinking this was a really, really good idea? Quite unusually, it got out of the gate, and I think it was premium only. There was no way of getting this from the repo.
Yes.
But in fact, Joe, you might have been on the show talking about this. I have a memory that we talked about it anyway. And it's an image generator where you can kind of take an image and make it into a featured image, but kind of put memes on it, put text over the top, move the text left, put fonts on, put different opacities and things. Basically, it just makes social sharing cards inside of your WordPress installation. I would never have put this as an automatic acquire, but there you go. They've bought it for an undisclosed amount. And the theory that Sarah's putting forward here is that it's going to be rolled up into Jetpack. And I love it. I don't buy it because I've got a bit of software that I'm happy to open up just in another tab and use. But I figure that for $39 a year, this is a pretty solid plugin. But it's an odd one, I think, for WordPress. Well, for Automatic to have acquired this one.
I first of all just really like this plugin. When I say I like it, I just like the idea of it. I've never used it, but seeing end user clients struggling with social sharing on regular basis on websites and trying to sort of get them to understand, there's the feature image, it'll fall back to that, and if you don't have that, you can customize what image you upload in there. And whenever as soon as this plugin came out, I kind of recalled all of those conversations with clients, and then sort of felt, wow, we're in the 2020s now, and such a restriction on what you can do on such a super important marketing aspect to visualizing your sort of snippet of your webpage when you're sharing it on any of these different social platforms. And yeah, it came out, I think, as $39 per site per year, which is totally a totally affordable price for anyone who's got any kind of marketing goal. But I have the feeling, I don't have any numbers on this, but I just have the feeling that sort of plugin is the kind of plugin that would sort of get lost and just wouldn't be making the sales that it probably deserved for what it did. So I'm kind of, on that basis and that assumption, I'm really happy that it's been acquired and in a place where it's going to get some serious use out of it. The cynical part of me is like, oh, I see, it's going to be in Jetpack, but quite honestly, if Jetpack is going to bring a feature like that to all its premium customers, it's a real win for WordPress. I don't know if Squarespace and Wix has that kind of thing. I
don't actually. I'm not sure.
I don't think they do. I just don't think. I think we'd have sort of seen some really good sort of Twitter and Facebook shares from websites if they did, because people would be using that. I assume it's going to go into WordPress.com as well, because that just completely makes sense. If they bought it for Jetpack, to not put that kind of feature in WordPress.com would be a real fail. So congratulations to Jetpack, congratulations to Daniel, and millions of users will be using this at some point in the near future. Even if I'm a little bit cynical about Jetpack in general, but Jetpack just got a whole lot better.
Apparently, they were introduced. Automatic and Daniel Post were introduced. The creator of the plugin. Apparently, they were introduced by Chris Coyer, which is a name that every time I hear the word Chris Coyer, I'm like, I must go and read that right away. I really like Chris Coyer's stuff. He's just amazing. Chris Coyer is one of those people that I wish I was him.
He's really, and I'll just say he's like super generous. He was guest number 6 on my podcast before I had any audience or anything. I was just like, hey Chris, do you want to like come on my show and talk about how you built CodePen? And he's like, yeah.
Wow. Sure. Nice.
Yeah. Super nice. I couldn't believe it. So really generous dude with his time. Super cool. But I mean, I think that this is Jetpack, like Paul was saying, Jetpack has a lot of baggage. And I think there are maybe too many features in Jetpack, but Jetpack's social sharing tools are very good.
Yes.
The buttons, the ability to publicize, I think are some of the tightest features of Jetpack. And this is going to fit in really well, I think. So I'm excited, right? Because I can hear a lot of naysayers saying I can just do this in Canva, and I'm like, I could just do it in Canva too, but I'm not going to.
Exactly.
And like the things that I make
People
in Canva are like kind of crap, right? Like, so if it's something, and I'm like, oh man, I need a share image. Right now, I go to Unsplash, which is I think a bad word in the WordPress space now. I think.
Why was that? There is a reason for why it is, but I've forgotten why it is.
I think it had something to do with like their policy,
licensing.
Their licensing.
Yeah.
And and when WordPress gets that integration that was announced a little while ago, I'll happily use that. But right now, like I go out to Unsplash, I find an image, and I just upload. I don't even add the text or anything like that because but having a tool like this is going to save me a ton of time, I think.
Yeah, especially if it did things like automatically overlay the post title and maybe, I don't know, some of the first 20 words of your excerpt or something. Yeah. Have you guys ever used Stencil?
Yeah.
No.
Stencil. You recommended it to me in early parts of our friendship, in fact.
What's that?
You recommended it to me in the early days of our friendship.
Oh, and you're still using it?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is good. It's an online tool. It's at getstencil.something. I imagine it's .com. I can't remember.
Yeah,
and they've got a really neat WordPress plugin, which in the media library, it just adds another tab. So, you've got media and you've got the upload tab. They add another one, which is stencil. So you create inside their UI, I'm guessing it's an iframe or something. You create your featured image inside the UI, and then you just click export to WordPress, and it just chucks it in the media library. It doesn't bring in the post title or anything like that, which I'm guessing this will do, but it's right there inside a WordPress. And if you've got the appropriate license, I think you can install this in client sites as well. I'm not 100%.
You can. Yeah, it's been like that for a couple of years, and this plugin sort of mimics the kind of thing that this does, but without needing the third-party SaaS tool as well. So, and that is a super. Even just the things like simple cropping and just changing the lighting a little bit on a photo, or giving it that kind of Instagram filter look. That's what that kind of plugin does. I wonder if this one does that. I assume it probably does. The ability to sort of add
it looks like
simple Instagram-y sort of filters onto the photos.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Just from the logos that we got, the little thumbnails we've got here, it looks like you can fiddle with fonts, opacity, dragging images. Looks like you can add your logo. Just adding the logo is kind of nice. If you don't have to do that, and that's all automatic, that's kind of fun. Anyway, nice and a curious.
The last thing I'd say really is when it comes to Jetpack, we're all kind of like the snobby nerds when it comes to WordPress. We care about what's going on in the pit lane and everything, and that's why we kind of complain about Jetpack, because they put ads in the naughty places and stuff like that. And but as an end user, like Joe said, some of the tools that are in there, if you don't care about a bit of bloat and stuff like that, because you're just not aware that that's even a bad thing, then it's only going to get better, I think.
Can I just talk about how confused I'm looking at Jetpack's pricing page right now, and it's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it up. Let's go on. We're gonna get into this. What's the? Well, I can never remember the URL. Let's just Google Jetpack.
It's there at jetpack.com. I'll drop it in the private chat here. But
I got it.
It's
on the screen.
Like, how much could it cost? And then if you go to pricing, you're gonna see localized pricing. That's cool. But
pounds.
Okay,
I bet you it's the same in pounds as it is in dollars, which always annoys us over on this side of the pond.
You know what's interesting is it is not. It's $99 a month for the complete. So it looks like. I wonder what they're using for that, because I want to.
But that feels like about the market rate. Actually, that feels like the dollar to the pound translation, 99 to 77 here. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
But very often we will see products where, and if you go to the pricing and you put a VPN on and it comes out in dollars, it's the exact same number, and it's like that's a ripoff.
They're just swapping the currency symbol.
Yeah. So £38.25 for the complete, £9.55 for the daily, and £4 for the backup.
It's like unclear a little. So like backup, security, and then it's complete both backup and security. But then it says you also get the CRM and marketing.
It is difficult. Yeah.
Like, and then if you scroll down, there's more pricing tables.
Oh.
The top one, the complete one, doesn't seem like fantastic value compared to
and
the
that's
middle
exactly
one.
what I was like. $99 a month for what? What am I getting?
They're saying the CRM's included in there, but the CRM later on, like you said, is
free.
Marked down as free.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, strange, if I add up all of this, does it add up to $77 a month, or
that'd be $6.50? I'm not going to do that, but no, it doesn't. All of this stuff down here is cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna write a letter. I'm gonna get this figured out.
This is. I hear a lot of times that WordPress has a pricing problem, and here is that. Right. I don't really know what I'm getting. And then if you scroll up to the very top, it should say something like 40% off.
But you got it, 40%, 14-day money back guarantee though, and they should put a big badge here. Same price to US citizens as it is to people in Europe. Yeah. They should do that. That's interesting. I'm going to delve deeper into that. This is just something I've never bothered with. When I joined WordPress, there were real knives out about Jetpack. At the time when I joined, and it would just appear that all the people that I was meeting with and taking advice from were just like, just don't. So I never did.
Yeah.
I have no axe to grind, but I just never have gone there. So
I would just rather use like one-off plugins for the things. Now, if you look at the comparison table, the value is clearer.
Yeah.
It's the real-time aspect on the top one. That's the main difference. So
this scan in real time and so on. Yeah, the real time.
Real-time backup. So if you got a WooCommerce site
for activity log.
Yeah.
The search. Yeah, the value is a lot clearer if you look at the comparison page, but like the compare all bundles there, but
you're right though. As far as I can see, that does not add up to 20.
No.
So what's that? $47, $51, $55, $57.50 a month if you just get them all separately. Oh, is it priced on this though? Say 50% off for the first year. Maybe there's no, because it says I don't know. None of it makes sense. None of it.
Great audio content though.
Yeah, that's right. Let's look at a pricing table.
The TLD. If you want to edit all that out, the TLDR is there's like 7 different price boxes on the Jetpack pricing page.
Yes,
and it's very.
And the three of us can't figure out what's going on there.
I would really just say like get Jetpack Pro, big, get Jetpack Pro. I guess I'm rebranding Jetpack for them. Get Jetpack Pro for $40 a month or whatever it is. You get all of these things, or a la carte get these things, right? So present the one you want them to get, or then give them the options below.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know?
Well, a fair amount, I'd say. Okay,
Yeah.
here's a complete change of direction. This is introduced to me this week by the guy who I did a podcast recording with. I recorded a podcast which did it come out? Let me just have a quick look on my homepage. I think I put it out. Yeah. It's Alex Kirk from the Friends plugin. By the way, if you haven't come across the Friends plugin and you're interested in like the possibilities of doing social networking inside a WordPress, where you can connect, you can basically create a federated WordPress interconnected exchange. Go and check that plugin out. It's really cool. And I noticed on his pricing table, and I just said to him, what's this all about? On his pricing table, it told you that if you bought his product, he would plant some trees. And I was like, what's that about? And he said, well, I've just hooked into this API. I've written a plugin so that if you've got an EDD product, you can show on the checkout page how many trees you're going to plant. And I just thought, oh, that's so cool. I mean, this stuff's right up my street. I don't do anywhere near enough. You know, I'm a typical person. I'm sure many of us could be guilty of the same thing. I talk the talk, but don't necessarily do the right thing. And I just thought this was a really, really nice way of offsetting some of that. So if you buy his product, you can link it into EDD, and every time you get a sale, a proportion of that sale will be sucked out and given to, what is the organization called? Ecology, ECOLOGI, Ecology partners globally with local projects that are implementing the best climate crisis solutions for offsetting CO2. So basically, they'll go plant trees if you give them a little amount of money. And obviously, if you're selling a boatload of stuff through EDD, all of that will be added up. It's kind of one of those win-wins. You get to feel good, but you don't actually have to go out and plant the tree yourself. Somebody else goes and does that. So I just thought that was just such a nice little initiative, and it's at responsiblewp.com. Go check it out. What do you reckon, guys? You like that?
This looks super cool. So this is a separate service that connects EDD with Ecology, right? This is not like an EDD.
It's like an EDD add-on.
Okay.
And go on.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we didn't talk about this on the podcast I recorded. I just said, why have you got the number of trees you're going to plant on your checkout for the Friends plugin? And he said, oh, it's this thing that I've built and it bolts onto EDD. And I just thought that's fascinating. And I said, I'll share that because I like it. So here I am sharing it. So I think that's how it works. It says the current version of Responsible WP does require some coding skills. By way of a standard WordPress filter, you will define the number of trees and amount of CO2 to be offset per purchase or renewal. These amounts can be customized according to the purchase and renewal amounts. Responsible WP hooks into all the new purchases and all new existing subscriptions and renewals. When any purchase renewal is processed on your site, Responsible WP sends an API request to Ecology Impact API in order to plant any number of requested trees and or offset any amount of CO2. How cool is that?
That's really cool.
Isn't it?
If this existed for WooCommerce, I would install it. My brother Phil is more conscious about this than I am, right? I'm kind of like, the economy will catch up to it, sort of thing. But he's been really pushing me to do the right thing. So, we stopped buying like plastic water bottles, and I have a reusable one and a reusable filter. For Christmas one year, he got me reusable shopping bags as like a gag gift, but now we try to use them. And but this is a cool, I mean, it's no effort for site owners, right? If you're selling stuff on your site and you're using EDD, and maybe I'll put in a request for WooCommerce. It's no skin off your back. You get to say you're doing a good thing, and the environment has helped.
On the bottom of their site, this little plugin, which I don't believe he's done any marketing on, and what have you, the impact of the responsiblewp.com licenses is 225 trees. And if you actually think about that, that's like a football field's worth of trees.
Yeah.
and the message right at the top of the website is pretty much the best. And I don't know the science of this, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm just reading what it says. It says the trees on on planet Earth are one of the best ways to clean our air. I'm sure that's true. And if he's managed to put 225 off this little plugin, you imagine what the likes of some of the big guys. And you don't have to do it's not like you have to do 10% of your profit. It could be, if I sell 100 licenses, we'll do 5 trees.
Yeah. I think Stripe is, you know what? I think Stripe is offering the same sort of thing where you can choose to donate 1% of revenue to climate change.
We both Paul and I listened to a podcast by a guy called Sam Harris, and this guy Sam Harris, can you remember the name of the thing that he sort of he tithes, if you like? So if every time he earns $1,000, he gives a proportion of it to this organization, and it's basically this one hit for everything that he wants to donate to, and he just says, I'll give you the money because I trust that you're going to do the best possible thing with it in terms of climate change, tackling infectious diseases and all this kind of stuff. And I can't remember what the organization is, but he had a guy on the podcast and he was basically saying, there are people who know what needs to be done better than you do. So, sure, you've got your local charities, but on a global level, there's better ways of spending your money than necessarily going out and finding one charity at a time.
Right.
You remember what that was, Paul?
I don't. But thanks for that link, Joe's just put in the private chat the link to the Stripe thing that they're doing. Hopefully Stripe does the same as what this plugin allows, isn't it? When you do have a user on the checkout, that they can actually see what's going on there. And obviously you could put a what do you call it, a cart abandonment message in to make them feel really guilty.
Yeah.
if they didn't go through with
That's
it.
right.
Hey, you just killed 25 trees.
Yeah. Any
Unless you come
refunds?
back and buy my plugin.
Yeah.
And then you'll be all right again. But it's lovely that you can sort of show them. And I think I said this the other day, actually, and I don't even know if Elon Musk really did say this, but I heard that Elon Musk did a talk recently and was saying that the way that to get the mainstream to start understanding and tackling climate change when it's such a slow burning sort of problem that we don't suddenly panic about on a day-to-day basis, is to stop trying to persuade people to get scared about it and start making it cool and fun to save the environment. So, for example, you take the Tesla. So 1 minute everyone's buying 8-liter V8, V12 cars, who's got the money for that. The next minute, the same people are like, I don't want that anymore. I want a Tesla. And, if in the future somehow the products that you buy can help that, and you feel proud about that, and there's a kind of badge of honor situation, especially with things like social media. Everyone wants to kind of virtual signal these days, and it's this super easy one that every time you buy a product from anywhere, you can just share what that did, or that something on your phone. It seems to be that it's a good answer to getting people excited, because Nathan, you were visibly excited about this just then when you were talking about it, because it was like, this is a cool idea. I want to buy something that saves trees, and I'll be proud about it, and I'll tell all my friends about it, sort of thing. So
yeah, honestly,
really cool.
if there was 2 things that had feature parity and were basically the same price, I would 100 times out of 100 buy the one with the credentials of planting trees or something equal.
The younger generations care about this more than us old farts as well, because we're sort of we haven't got to grow up for as many years with this. We're older now, and
the science was a bit not mixed, but the messaging certainly was, right? It was like global warming, global cooling, global warming, climate change, and so there was
everyone wants to be cool and everyone wants to be nice and warm. That's it's not exactly a scary language, is it? Really?
Yeah. Or what most people would say on like if it snowed a lot here, I would know people who'd be like, "Oh, so much for global warming, right? It's
Right.
snowing." And I'm
Well,
like,
that I seem to be
that's a
hearing the
fundamental
phrase
misunderstanding. Yeah.
global heating more now in our news. Everybody seems to, like on the BBC and what have
Okay.
you, they
Yeah.
seem to have dropped global warming and they're talking about global heating.
Yep.
I don't know why that is, but yeah, it's just such a great initiative. Alex
Yeah.
Kirk, if you want to get in touch with him, Joe, and have him on a podcast, he's a really
Yeah, for
cool,
sure.
really
I'm
cool
gonna
guy.
write that down. And it looks. I'll just highlight in the chat over here. Marcus Burnett said that it looks like Ecology has a Zapier integration.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so you could do that with WooCommerce.
yeah. So now I guess I have to walk the walk, right? I'll have to set up that Zapier integration today.
Yeah. What else have we got here? Joe Vanderkar, who recorded last week as well. Hi, Joe. Hi, Joshua. Sorry, I don't know why I just called you Joe. I have in mind to build something out for WooCommerce or something to more generally hook into any WP action. I don't use WooCommerce myself at the moment, though. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Josh. It looks like Zapier might be taking the heavy lifting. And Chris, Chris, your comment came and then went again. Chris Hughes, nice to have you back, Chris. Stripe Climate is great. I give 1% automatically from all my sales across my brands. That's great. Okay.
I just added. Just as we were talking, added that to my account. So
nice. Yeah. Who can complain?
Yeah. Right. I mean.
Yeah, this is great. Okay, so that's responsible. Actually, is it me or does that logo just ever so slightly with the tree there? Does it look a little bit like irresponsible WP? The way that looks a bit like an R. It's responsiblewp.com, and there you go. I was expecting that to be like a 30-second piece, but it turned into 10 minutes.
One more thing, Nathan.
Yeah, go.
I don't know if I missed it when I was reading through the Stripe website just then, but Joshua Vanderkar is the creator of this. So the comment.
Do you know? Have I got Joshua? If it's you, I am so sorry.
Just check the website. Hello, Joshua. Well done. Good job here.
Do you know?
That was amazing,
Joshua.
I don't know Joshua.
I'm going to say this in my defense, Joshua. Firstly, I apologize. Secondly, I am feeling remarkably unwell at the moment.
Yeah.
And I apologize for messing your name up with somebody else. I interviewed 2 people last week, and I've utterly dropped the ball on that. I can only apologize. If I was you, Joshua, I would be furious at me for making such an error, but I hope you forgive me. I didn't mean to do that.
Joshua, he messed up our fish and chip on the weekend. So, it's becoming a thing now.
No, but don't. Right. Paul, will you carry on for a minute? I'm gonna go and beat myself up in another room for a few minutes.
Silly man.
Joshua, sorry. God, what a donkey, for want of a better word, I am. Let's move on before I put any more feet in my mouth. There's a couple of pieces this week on page builders that I thought were quite interesting. Both, I'm not going to go into the detail on both of them, but I just thought this was quite curious. Yeah. The Bricks page builder had a new release this week, 1.3.4, in which they went into great detail about how they had made their page builder quicker, faster, and stripped out a load of the assets that they were loading and the way that they were loading them. This is a YouTube video. I confess I probably watched about 8 of the 16 minutes. I watched a bit about all of the speed optimization stuff. And then when it got to the features, because I don't use it, I stopped watching at that point. And then David Wormsley put me onto Divi, who, again, I'm not a user of, but I actually watched their video. Same sort of thing. They've gone absolutely to town, it would appear, almost like a bit of a rewrite, meaning that they've dropped the amount of assets that they're loading. I think in one case they've got the CSS from 800 kilobytes down to something like 56, if memory served. I don't know if that means it was incredibly badly performant prior to that. But apparently now it really does depend on what's on the page. If it ain't on the page, it's not loading anything to do with it. Whereas in the past, I think it loaded an awful lot. So that's my bit about those 2 bits about page builders speeding things up. And I'm sure that the other guys will be doing exactly the same thing. But did either of you see any of that? Curious about any of this?
The Bricks one, I didn't really take too much interest in because I don't really use Bricks, and I don't know if you any plans to. I think it's already quite performant, but you can see that most of the major page builders are making this kind of move at the moment, as well as other moves that they're probably making in the background in an answer to knowing that Automatic are pushing a use our thing rather than the page builders, because they put out a video kind of poo-pooing the page builders as such. It definitely had that feel to it. But I think it's like I said about earlier about the Gutenberg project needs to push out this full site editing thing so they can get past that milestone, and then at least some of their team can probably turn towards the performance things. Now Gutenberg already does amazing performance anyway right now, but with each release it does become more bloated. And you can see on the Dopey Tavern, some people often bring up a comment about is someone going to sort of focus on performance, and right now they get away with it because it's already fast, but as it grows, it'll slow down a bit. But I think Divi has done some really cool stuff here, and I just like the fact is that some of us kind of more nerdy people would get wound up by too many divs in page builders and stuff like that. I think the guy Lewis from Oxygen, the creator of Oxygen, even created a phrase called divception that he kind of was infamous for on some of his infamous YouTube videos, which were hilarious.
Yeah, they were
where he
funny.
rips to pieces all the other page builders and compared to Oxygen.
Did you actually see the video where he got about halfway through and then he just said, "I'm just not even going to use Divi in the rest of this video," and he just stopped.
Yeah, he just swore. He just swore and said, "I'm not going there." And said, the thing is that the page builders are aware that Core Vitals is now this big thing that people are interested in. How important it is in how people are interpreting what it is totally up for debate. But in terms of people being able to take one tool and then compare it to another, ignore the the parity features, and then say this product is better than that one because it scores better on the Google scores, is a kind of ridiculous scenario. So I think what these page builder tools are doing is that they're saying, okay, let's just get rid of this being a comparative problem. Let's get it to the point where someone can say Gutenberg is better for these people for this reason, and this reason has no hype around it. It's a better tool for those people, whereas Divi is a better tool for those people, without seeing a bunch of YouTube videos promoting a particular product that then just have a bunch of performance scores and use that as a basis to make a purchasing decision for an end user who really should be focusing on the features and the other benefits that they get out of it. So I think Divi have just done a sterling job, because people used to say about Divi, they're too old, as in, they've been around for too long. They've got too much legacy code in there. How could they ever solve this problem? They never will be able to. And they've just turned up, rocked up, and proved everybody wrong. And if these are the metrics that Google say are important on their test, and Divi has answered those without giving a substandard user experience for the end user, then they've ticked all the boxes, and you can only just congratulate them for that. And I think all the Divi users will be super happy about this.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
Yeah,
it's just free betterness.
Yep,
free betterness. I like that.
Right. So, in an attempt to not feel quite as bad as this podcast goes on, I'm just going to say a few things. Firstly, Joshua, he says, all love from mine. Thank you so much. I beg your forgiveness. Secondly, Joshua I mentioned about the Friends plugin. I feel at this point I'm going to just mention what Joshua was on the podcast talking about. He's from Rocket Genius, so he works with the team over at Gravity Forms, and the podcast that I was recording with him was all about his Gravity Hopper plugin. So that'll be coming out next. So hopefully I've rewound many of my mistakes. I'm just going to keep them all in. I'm not going to edit them out, because I'll have to edit out about half of this. But anyway, there we go. So sorry, Joshua. Right. Okay, moving on. I'm going to miss out the one from WP Builds, because I think we mentioned the Friends plugin that we
you just did
about.
it anyway.
Exactly. So we'll go to this one. I don't know what everybody thinks about this. This is on the BBC website. We very rarely mention the BBC website, but it's not specifically WordPress. But here we are. Increasingly, it feels to me like the whole cookie saga is just getting worse and worse and more dramatic. I'm now at the point where I go to websites and I basically just agree to everything because I can't be bothered to not agree to things or go and check out what it is that I'm supposed to agree. In many cases, the website won't let me use any of the website until I've agreed to something or other. Usually it's kind of like two options. You can manage cookies and only choose essential ones and switch all the other ones off. But that's like a 25-second process. So it's just quicker for me to get to the content by clicking yes. I kind of feel that the EU in particular was a part of this, the reason this all happened. I don't know if this was a thing coming out of North America or if it was coming out of the EU, but it felt like it was an EU big push. It would appear that the UK in particular is going to be trying to sort of rewind a lot of history and get to the point where we can reconsider the dire situation that we're in with cookies. And I just thought it was interesting. One of the representatives from the UK this week is going to try and urge the world, via the G7, and then presumably push it out across the rest of the world, to just take this into hand and say, actually, has this all gone too far? Who didn't see this coming? Who works in tech? This, at the time, I remember everybody who was on our side of the fence was saying, this is stupid. This should never be. This is exactly what's going to happen. We'll get these great big banners. It'll get in the way. But the politicians drove it through, and now we've got this. So hopefully we'll get to the point where, I don't know, maybe this is the terrain of the browsers or something, where you could have a feature built into the browser where prior to going to any website, when you first log into your brand new fresh install of Chrome or whatever it might be, you can say, actually, this type of thing I'm happy with, this type of thing I'm happy with, but not this, and this. And then somehow that gets passed through from the browser to the website when you go there. But I think it's fair to say that nobody wants to be tracked. Probably that's a good default. But anyway, so here we are. The ICO are having to deal with all of this in the UK.
I can't see it happening, actually. Unfortunately. I mean, go on, Joe.
I mean, we're seeing that with Safari. I think part of this, right, is
says here.
I mean, politicians are making law based on nothing they know about, right? Like they don't consider the implications and how this is going to be implemented. But also, Apple started with privacy mode in I think it was iOS 14 with Safari. Now it's coming out across all of iOS, right? Where you can ask apps, or maybe this was all iOS 14. You can ask apps not to track you.
I think it's don't track by default, isn't it? Now
yes,
in iOS.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on Apple TV, it's not by default because I've had to answer that question multiple times recently. So I think that we're seeing one company who's not making money off of other people's data, more or less, Apple, pushing this privacy stuff. Google is maybe reacting a little bit, right? Because they were going to fold that. What was that called? I think we talked about it last week.
Oh, Flock.
Yeah, right. They were pushing it.
Federated learning of cohorts, which is dead.
Yes, right, exactly. So, I think that the tech companies, or at least certain software, is reacting to an increasing realization that consumers understand, right, that they want to stay private. And this, the GDPR stuff, which is probably what kicked a whole lot of this off, but California is getting similar. California is getting similar laws. I'm sure the United States is. If there's one thing Republicans and Democrats agree on, it's that big tech is the bad guy. So I'm sure that laws are coming at a federal level here, and so I mean, someone needs to think about it. I have a hard time thinking that Google will do anything too detrimental to their main revenue model, which is ads, and so they need to track people. But I don't know. I'm hesitant to pass this problem off to like the biggest government in the world, because I don't think that they'll effectively solve this problem in any short amount of time. But I don't know really who else would handle it in a more objective way, maybe.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? You were saying, Paul, that you just don't think it's going to happen. You just mean the cat's out of the bag. It's too late. I
Well,
think
yeah,
a lot
actually,
of the cookies thing.
Joe's, sort of opened my mind a little bit on how I was thinking about that, because at this point, the obvious solution is it goes inside the browser or the device. So Apple are already on board with that anyway. They want to do that. And then Google are kind of probably not up for it because they have a major browser and their whole business model is sort of affected. Yet if it was done via law and it had to be put in, into browsers, they would probably find a way to make the UX slightly in favor of not blocking all the Google-based stuff. And at this point, Facebook is like, why don't we have devices and web browser? And they're like, Facebook is, screwed again, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, the other. So I just don't think that Google Chrome will be, the people who run Chrome will be like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, let's put that in our browser. Whereas you see this sort of feature in, you just switched, Nathan, to Firefox, didn't you, just last week because of a privacy setting that they had done where, can you explain it, where they box off per site privacy?
So
is that right?
I'm not actually, everything that you're looking at on the screen now is in Brave with their Shields Up enabled. I think it's called Shields Up, the little lion logo at the end of the Omnibar or whatever it's called these days. So I have that, but I went to Firefox because there's an extension that you can get, an add-on, I think it's called, on the Firefox side, and it containerizes your tabs. So basically you say, okay, if I ever open Facebook, open it in this tab, and all the cookies sit in that tab and they can't get out. So if I accidentally type in Facebook or I click on a link which takes me to Facebook, it opens it in the same container, so the cookies can't escape. And for me, that's great because I really want that to be the case. But I don't suppose most people are going to go out and find that Firefox extension. And of course, you could do the same for any website. It could be Google or what have you. But it's just, because I'm curious about that, I've done it.
I've changed my mind. I think it will happen actually now, come to think about it after a little discussion. But I think, the end users are becoming more mindful. They will make consumer choices. You can see that, 1 minute a particular web browser is the king, and then the next minute it's not, very, very quickly. So things change really, really quick. And if users start making the decisions that force other browsers to, so for instance, you might use Chrome and then you get pop-ups all the time. But if you use Firefox, you don't get pop-ups because all the producers of the pop-up plugins just do a quick check. We don't need to do it. Decision's already made. Whereas Chrome might prefer people to, check off cookies settings on a particular website. But as it happens, that ignores anything. It might that gives them a better chance of not getting blocked themselves. And I think it's the UK, one of the UK representatives that suggested this to the EU. It would have probably been better if they'd had a little whisper to one of our European friends and said, "Will you suggest this? Because if I say it, no one's going to listen." Because the European politicians don't like the UK ones these days, I think, post Brexit.
This is, I'll just quickly put it on the screen. This is the add-on that I was talking about. It's called Multi-Account Containers by Mozilla. And
cool.
you get a lovely little confirmation at the end of the URL bar. You color code what you want that container to be, and you call it something. So in my case, I've made it Facebook Blue, and I've made it sort of Google Red. So if I'm in it, I can just see directly that I'm in that tab. I'm guessing this isn't new because it's got a bunch of reviews, nearly 6,000 reviews, most of them, by the looks of it, 5-star. And the only thing I haven't worked out so far, but the promise was that it would, if I strayed into Facebook, that it would load in that container. And I haven't yet figured out how to enable that. I'm having to manually open Facebook inside of that container, but I think it's worth checking out. It's at addons.mozilla.org.
It's a great shout. There's some really nice little add-on things like this climate change helper and this privacy helper and stuff this week.
Yeah.
Really nice little things.
Yeah. So that's what it's called. Right. Okay. Shall we move on? I'm conscious I don't see all the browsers. Where are we? Back to this. Okay. Let's move back. So did you guys get a chance to play this? This is hysterical. This has got nothing to do with WordPress. Apparently, like a parrot, if you say something often enough, a parrot can mimic it. Apparently ducks can. And this duck, as a recording has been rediscovered after many years of a duck saying, okay, bear in mind, this duck came from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "You bloody fool, you bloody fool, you bloody fool." And go and listen to it. It's over at BB. So just Google audio of Ripper, the talking Australian duck rediscovered. You tell me, is that duck saying "you bloody fool" or not? I think it is. And I just thought that was such a weird story that I thought I'd surface it. So there you go. Go and check that out.
Did any of you ever see the, I think it was a BBC David Attenborough thing with this particular bird that was literally like a dictaphone. It could record any noise at all, like a car going past or something like that. So it was in like the middle of like this rainforest or something like that. And if there was a monkey making a noise, it would make a noise like a monkey immediately. And it was absolutely amazing. It was all part of the mating rituals and those sort of things. But then, and so everyone's watching the TV show just like, that is so cool. And then they sort of cut to it making chainsaw noises. So basically this bird is starting to basically mimic the noises of its own environment getting destroyed. It was heartbreaking. It was just terrible.
My friend had 3 parrots. She had a parrot room. And you had to walk through the parrot room. If you wanted to go from the front door to her kitchen, you had to walk through the parrot room. And they live a long time, parrots. You've got them for like 80. They live the length of a human life. They don't get to 70, 80 years old. So if you're into parrots, you are basically committing yourself to having this pet for the rest of your life. And it mimicked perfectly the telephone. And so you could never, ever know that because the telephone was at the back of the house. They only had one. So you had to walk through, and it was only at the point where you got into the parrot room that you were like, it's not the phone, it's the parrot again. I think you might be muted, Joe. Or
I mouthed "wow" very quiet.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. What do you reckon? Matt says he just listened to it. I mean, yeah, it could be that. I think it's saying it, but it's a duck. It's not a parrot. I didn't expect a duck to be able to even to like vaguely get closer. Anyway, that was my pick of the week.
If it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it could be saying "you bloody fool."
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Why didn't I think of that? God. Damn it.
I mean, ducks have always been able to almost talk. Donald Duck he can't talk that well, but he's quite good at it, isn't he?
Matt saying he really likes the story a few months ago with a guy who had a parrot out in his cage in his backyard, and it was screaming and shouting, "Let me out!" His neighbors called the police, and he had an awkward conversation with them. They laughed and left. I'm not going to go into a dark place how that story could have ended.
I'm just going to say as well, Matt is back with his long comments that are covering up my face.
Oh yeah, it's been months since we've had a comment.
Always Matt. Wow. It's always Matt Davis doing that.
Yeah, that's it. Come on, Matt, give us another huge comment and cover up his face. This came from Joe. We asked people to put in their picks of the week, and Joe's put in this one. This, Joe, is sublimely cool. I have no idea why this didn't exist. Like, why didn't somebody invent this? It's called Zip Message. Tell us what it does.
Yeah, so Zip Message, created by the venerable Brian Castle, is a way to do asynchronous video conversations. So imagine you're doing, let's say, a coaching call, right? And instead of picking a time between you and your coaching client, or your web design client, right? You can leave a message, send them this link, and then they can respond in kind. And so I've been beta test. I almost wore the t-shirt today, but I didn't want to like recommend and also wear the t-shirt. That felt like a very like wearing the t-shirt of the concert you're going to see,
Yeah.
right? Which, and so, but I've been using it for all sorts of stuff. I've been using it for coaching calls. I've been using it to get testimonials from students. Paul, I think you used this,
Yep.
right?
We
To submit your
messaged each other.
testimonial.
Yeah, you instigated the conversation on Zip Message, and it was
Yeah.
great. It was great.
Uh, I've been
Asynchronous,
using
yeah.
it to get like listener feedback. So you can create different mailboxes. So I have a separate mailbox for people who want to submit questions to how I built it. And then I have a support mailbox. So if you go to, if you want to see it in action, you can go to podcastliftoff.com.
Okay, let's try
And
that.
yeah.
Podcast. Is that all right? Do you mind me putting that on the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Podcast lift.
Joe, can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
how the pricing sort of work? Like, not exactly how much it costs, but let's say you have an account that you pay for. What is there an end point where the person that you've reached out to for Zip messaging can no longer send you any messages back unless they get a premium account? Or
No. So if you initiate the message on your account, so you can do it so that like only a specific person can respond, or you
Yep.
can make it so that anybody can respond, even anonymous people. So
Okay, that's really cool. I
all
wasn't
of the
sure about that.
limitations,
Yeah.
quote unquote, they're all feature limitations, first of
Yeah.
all. So it's like the basic account versus the premium account limits, let's say, the number of mailboxes you can have to one
Right.
versus unlimited. Or like I think Zapier integration and certain Teams things are only for the premium account. But yeah, so there's no, it's not like like Zencaster or Restream or what, or not Restream, StreamYard or whatever, where like you can only record X amount of hours per month or something like that.
Yep. Yep. No, that's really
Maybe
nice.
StreamYard doesn't have that limitation, but some of the others do.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of constraints usually. So we were saying it's podcastliftoff.com /
just podcastliftoff.com. If you go there,
okay. Yep.
You'll see a little anchor in the bottom right-hand corner. And if you click on that anchor, have a question about the course, send me a message. That'll take you to a Zip message. And this is my support or pre-sale mailbox. And so I have a template here where I pre-recorded a video saying, hey, thanks for your interest in my offerings. You can leave a video, text, or audio message below, and I will get back to you. And then it'll create a separate conversation, they're called, where I can have this with a support person. And so I see like there's a question in the chat from Matt. Can you ask a series of questions at once, or is it one video at a time? You can format it however you want. There's no limit on the length of the video. And then could you use it for video interview? I think yes, right? So you can go back and forth. If you go to, I think, Brian Castle's website, I'll try to find it, but he conducted a podcast interview, an asynchronous podcast interview with Chris Lemma, doing this back and forth. So
you get the best answers. You get the thoughtful replies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because some like part of a good interview is the spontaneity.
Yeah.
But
yep.
If I catch someone off guard, right now I don't have to like edit out part of it, right? They can sit and think about it for a minute. And so, so you could see how Brian did it. You can see the raw videos. And then he stitched it all together for an actual podcast episode too.
That is awesome. I had not thought about some of these creative ways you've just highlighted. Amazing.
Yeah.
That is so
super cool.
I literally have, this is one of those ideas that the moment somebody invented it, you're like, what? How did we not have that? Because it makes perfect sense. We've got text messages and they just work. You just drop it in, and when anybody wants to reply, they reply. We've got email. You just send it off. Whenever they're ready to see it and read it and reply, in it comes. This is exactly the same thing, but it's with video. And I'm guessing that this falls into a hierarchy of a conversation in the UI. So if I begin a conversation with you in here, Chris, my video will, like, maybe your video will come first, followed by mine in a sort of threaded way, and then your reply and my reply. So you can just go back and walk back through all the steps like an email thread.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mm.
It's super cool, well done. You can download each of the videos or again the audio, right? So if I want to have a listener feedback show, I can say, "Hey, submit your audio here." I can just download those and then drop them into the editing track, or I could put it on my soundboard so I can play it like during the show. It's really,
Mm.
really a neat tool. When he rolled out the premium when they rolled out the premium pricing, I signed up almost immediately. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is going to
Mm.
replace Loom for me. This could replace SpeakPipe for me, and then I have async office hours for my students too. So they have a private link that kind of gets priority with me. So it's super worth it for me, and it starts at $15 a month.
Yeah. If you go for yearly pricing, it's
Yeah. So
15,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
15 a month, and if you go for the premium, that's interesting. Look at the way they've added extra padding around the premium one. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
what a good eye, right?
yeah,
Make it look a
make it
little bit
just look a
longer.
little bit like
Yeah.
they're all. There's way more, but maybe
Yeah.
there's just not way more.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, there you go. This here's my prediction. Mostly anything I predict turns out to be absolute dust, but never mind. Either this is going to get bought out by someone like Facebook or Google or something like that, or one of the big messaging platforms, or there'll be a $1 billion company within a couple of years, unless somebody does it and does it better. What a genius idea. It's one of those, why didn't I think of
Yeah.
that?
Isn't the
Yeah.
creator of this as well, he's from the WordPress space, if I'm right? Yeah,
Yeah,
the person who
Brian,
did the restaurant
he's
website thing.
yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, so he sold that off a while ago, and he has audience ops now as
Mm.
well. Um, he talks a lot about productized services, and this is his latest thing, and this is like um this is something that uh I think it's his first product that I was like, yes, I need this in my life.
Yeah, I wasn't completely sold on it until today, and just the way you framed it today was
Yep.
just really opened my eyes to the power of this thing. So I'm going in there and buying this later.
Do you know what
I'm
as
gonna check
well?
on your website, Joe, for
Yeah, give
see
us
if you've
your
got any
special
coupons.
link, Joe.
There's no affiliate
There's no
program, so just
special
let
link. Okay.
Brian know that I sent you, and
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
The other thing as well is if this product had come out like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I don't think the world was ready for it. But now
Mm,
everybody's got the webcam and they know how to make it work, and they've
Yeah.
sat through those meetings, and they're
true.
probably a proportion of them are sick of having to do everything in real time and come and sit down at 9 a.m. exactly 9 a.m. to be in that call at the exact moment it starts.
Yep.
Now you can achieve the exact same thing, but at 20 past 9. Because that's when it suits you. This is brilliant. We're a nice catch. Any more comments just before we finish? Oh, Peter says, going back to the duck, ravens and crows apparently can also be great at mimicking. He says, I'm a big fan of amazingly intelligent corvids. I'm guessing corvid is a classification of animal. I've never come across that word, but there we go.
Ravens and Crows sounds like a folk band.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they were in the Lord of the Rings, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Matt's back with a short comment this time. Yeah, the kind of thing I was imagining it for. That's awesome. I guess he was talking about some of the things that you were mentioning.
The async interviews.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he's thinking about using it for testimonials as well too. We're looking at Bonjoro or other platforms, but this looks lovely. Yeah, with that, Bonjoro is you reach out as a first point, don't you? You go to somebody, like somebody's signed up for your service, you then go straight away. Can I reach out to people? No, of course I can't. No, it has to be initiated by them to start the zip message, does it?
No, you can reach out
You
to
start the
them.
message. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can start it or they can start it, which
Okay.
is cool. So
Okay.
yeah, so the way Bonjoro works, right, is you can attach it to like your WooCommerce shop, and then when you have a new order, that person's info is added to Bonjoro, and then it's
That's
kind
it.
of added as like a to-do list. Um, Zip Message has Slack integration, so you can get the notification that way. I suspect they're working on Zapier integration, because one of the things that I would love to do is send like a canned message, a mailbox, when somebody signs up for, let's say, my coaching, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Thanks so much for signing up for the coaching, blah, blah, blah. Here are a few initial questions if you just want to send a video. And then that kind of gets them into the habit of doing it asynchronously instead of grabbing a time, right? Because that's ultimately the thing that's totally worth. Even if I use this once a month, it's like totally worth the 19 or whatever $38 that I'm paying for it, because it saves me the dance, it saves me the slot, right? The hour-long slot on my calendar. And I use it for a bunch of other things too.
Yeah. Good point. Honestly, brilliant catch. I'm so glad. Just for that reason alone, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. I've got nothing else. There's no more comments as far as I can see.
I got a pick of the week.
Have you?
Yeah.
Is that the one you just put the link in for?
Might be. But first, I just want to say, our friend Maya Longcar sent me a message on email this morning and sent me this catalog where I could choose some GoDaddy swag, GoDaddy Pro swag. So I've got a new backpack and some other cool stuff coming along in the post from GoDaddy Pro. But I just want to say this: if GoDaddy Pro think that they can buy me and have me announce their stuff on my friend's podcast by just giving me some swag, then they are absolutely right.
Because here we go.
Because my pick of the week, if you could bring up the link, Nathan, if you could bring yourself to do that.
Wait a sec. There we go.
Speaking of, here's the thing. So, we talk a lot about acquisitions at the moment, and they have a one of their meetups this evening. I think it is, September 13th, this evening in UK time. I think it's 6 p.m. UK time. And I don't know the person. I've not heard of the person before, Marcel Sobieski. But this talk is called From Ideas to Multiple Sellable WP Businesses. So the whole talk is about, if you've got an idea, how you can launch that as a business within the WordPress space with a view that you want to exit that business at some point and perhaps sell it in the current climate that we have. So it's the kind of thing that our friend Chris Hughes might be interested in watching. Chris, I know, is a serial solo and entrepreneur, and has businesses in the WordPress space. And this is a talk from somebody who's done it 4 times apparently. So they've kind of exited 4 WordPress brands successfully. So that's, I think, this evening at 6 p.m. UK time, and I guess that I'm not sure what time it is in different places, but check it out. If you go to, the easiest way to find it is just go to events.godaddy.com.
Yeah,
and you'll find all their different meetups. Yeah,
I've just put it on the screen. From ideas to multiple resellable WP businesses. Thank you, Paul. I'll have half of that backpack, please, when it arrives. Could I have the bottom half? You can just have the top bit. Everything falls out of.
Matt Davis has got a quick question as well.
Yeah, I know. I see that, and I was just saying we've got like 6 minutes left, so let's use it up with Matt Davis's final question, which is unlike we've ever had before, because it's all about Joe's course, which is great. He's asking a question about Joe's course. He says, Joe, go on, Matt, keep the comments long. If I have an existing podcast, so we're talking about Joe's podcast course. If I have an existing podcast that was put on hold while we were busy and I'm looking to restart again, would your course be good, even if I'm not specifically looking to monetize it? And sorry if that obliterates Paul's face.
And then he says, he cut off a bit of his message, but the rest of his message said,
thank you.
He's trying to get into being consistent with it and hopefully streamline processes. So stuff about processes.
If it had put that whole comment up, your entire face would have been covered. Yeah. That's a shame, isn't it? Joe, over to you. What is it?
So Matt, thanks so much for the question. Yes. So the full podcast liftoff course includes, so the light version, like the $79 version, is kind of just getting started, right? From like idea to publish or launch. But the additional modules in the $199 version include my process for staying consistent, right? So how to come up with content and batch content and things like that. It talks a little bit about automation and some of my automation processes, because I'm a one-man band here. As the showrunner, I'm the one-man band, and then I can automate out to a couple of other people to do a few other things. And then there is a monetization part, and it's not just about sponsorships. It's about a few other ways to generate income that includes like selling your services. And between us just here on the podcast, over the next quarter, I've come up with a kind of a new framework to apply to this course. It's called the Clean Framework, right? Create, launch, earn, automate, and network. And so I'll be adding some new content to that over the next couple of months that focuses more on deeply on automation and money making. But yeah, there's a whole set of videos there that's just staying consistent. And then the automation stuff that streamlines the process. Because honestly, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I didn't at least automate some of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, a great long answer. That was lovely. So hopefully, Matt, you've managed to get everything you need to know there. Where's the? If I'm guessing Matt probably wants to take this conversation elsewhere. Best channel for you, Joe?
You can head over to zipmessage.com/Joe.
Yay!
Yeah,
we saw. Oh, so you just got Joe, did you?
Yeah, I got to be a beta tester. And then he said when they rolled out custom URLs, I grabbed /Joe, and then Brian was like, "We were gonna put a limit, a minimum limit of 4 characters on."
You snuck in,
and I snuck in there.
Nice.
So I'm pretty psyched on it.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. It sounds like you've. Oh, yay! Victory!
Whoa, there it
is! Yay! Total result. Can we just keep that comment on until the very end? That sounds fantastic. Thanks, Joe. We have digital project education business that the podcast fits around. Hence, why I'm not looking to monetize with ads or anything. But new customer is always good. Much appreciated. Bye, Paul.
I was reading that comment. I was like, why has he said bye, Paul?
That's why.
I didn't know that.
Why didn't the previous one go all the way? That game
was
very,
very clever spacing.
I wonder if it's carriage returns and things like that. Yeah. Anyway, we've used up enough of everybody's time today. This show is over. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. Probably got some interesting news for you next week about the way the podcast.
I don't think we are back next week.
Are we not?
No.
No, you're right. After. I've got to go and do something elsewhere. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Paul. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Date, though?
Stop it. This is not a fishing expedition.
You're going to laugh at me when my face gets covered up. Then I'm going to keep bringing this up over and over again.
Yeah, I must say you were very, very good about not absolutely ripping me to bits about that during this show this week. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you. We appreciate that very much. He says, well done. And that time. Okay, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Please share if you've had any thoughts on this. Please share it with your friends, colleagues, Romans, countrymen, whoever. And we'll be back and we'll have some interesting news about it. Can I get all of us to wave so that I can use it as the album art? We're not going to have to fade out this time, but if we can just hold it like that, that's brilliant. And I'll use that. And we'll say bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.